Good evening, everyone. My name is Beverly Buncher, and I want to welcome you to this introductory webinar. Some of you on this call I see are already BALMers. You're in the BALM, you're working hard on your family recovery. You want to get your life back and help your loved one get theirs back, and you've begun your BALM journey. Others perhaps have read the book or reading it now, coming to these webinars, deciding where you will go on this path. And I'm hoping that tonight will help you see if this is a path for you. You know, my book is called BALM, the Loving Path to Family Recovery. And you may ask, what does love have to do with family recovery? I love my child, and it hasn't helped. I love my spouse, and it hasn't helped. Well, love has everything to do with it. And the fact that you love your child or your spouse is a wonderful beginning. We're going to teach you how to create an attitudinal shift in yourself so that you can help your loved one choose recovery. And to do that, we will focus on three things this evening. We'll focus on walking the loving path. We'll focus on the stages of change, and we'll focus on what is an attitudinal shift and how does the BALM help you do that, and what all of this has to do with love and your family's recovery. You see, the Be a Loving Mirror program is designed to break the chain of use disorders in your family, in my family, in all of our families, and to change our family trees, all through love. As we know, substance use disorder and mental health challenges affect every member of a family unit. And we believe very strongly that love is the answer. I wrote a whole book about it, and that connection is actually the key. And so we're going to start today by looking at this idea of walking the loving path. And I'd like to start by sharing with you one of our BALM handouts, Walking the Loving Path. And I'd like to invite you to take a look at this handout. I'll make it as big as I can. And maybe grab a piece of paper, and on a scale of 1 to 10, rate yourself. 0, let's say 0 to 10, because that's what I have on this paper. 0 being I'm not on the loving path at all by this definition. And 10 being I'm there right now. And for goal, I would like to at least get to a 5, or I'd like to get all the way to a 10. So you're going to be looking at this idea of walking the loving path as an action that you can take over time. Again, I believe that as we do this, it will become clear to you what the connection is between the loving path and your loved one's recovery. I hope you'll join us for this little activity. So the first main point of walking the loving path is that love itself is the answer. And we define love as committed love, there through the good times and the bad times. Not rainy day love, when things are going great, when your loved one is successful, when everything's grand, then you love. And when they're talking loud in the background while you're giving a course, or somebody's upsetting you, or someone's use disorder is kicking in, then you're not there. Then you don't want to have anything to do with them, and you're finished, and it's not your problem. We call that rainy day love. So committed love, where are you now in that on a scale of 0 to 10? And where would you like to be? Rate yourself right now. Love is the answer, and we're talking about accountable love, willing to apply leverage, to set boundaries. And you'll learn all about leverage and boundaries in the BALM. Leverage is something, it's a negotiation that you do, often with the help of professionals, to help your loved one move in the direction that's really going to help them with the recovery in exchange for things that they want in their lives. So you don't just give willy-nilly and you don't take away willy-nilly, but you help them to move towards healthy behaviors. And you set boundaries for yourself. Boundaries are all about protecting yourself from the chaos, basically. So the definition is accountable love, willing to set leverage, to apply leverage and set boundaries. It's not tough love. It's not punishing love. So where are you now on the loving path? On a scale of 0 to 10, and where would you like to be? The loving path is clear-eyed love, focused on the goal of family recovery. It's not obsessive love, blinded by emotion. You'll learn more about what that means in the BALM. You're going to really get all of these things. If they're a little fuzzy to you now, don't worry. You'll come to it in your studies and in your work with your coach and your fellow community members. Love is the kind of love we're talking about is connected love. It's love that transcends, bye sweetheart, the loved one's struggles. It's, I love you regardless of what you're going through. I love you deeply. I remember when you were that little 5-year-old knocking at the door and not having any idea of what it means that grandma's on a call. I love you. Transcends the struggles, transcends the behavior. Not conditional love, depending on how the loved one behaves. Where are you now? Where would you like to be? It's persistent love, not giving up, even when things don't work. Rather than only if things go well love. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what is walking the loving path like? Walking the loving path is living from the deepest part of yourself, the peaceful part, where all is well. Not judgmental love. Oh, well, she just doesn't do this right. I can't believe my daughter let her child do this. That's judgment, living from the deepest part of self. So that's what it looks like right now. Seeing beyond a loved one's behaviors is walking the path of love, not jealous. Courageous, not afraid. Grateful for blessings rather than envious. Forgiving of self and others, not resentful. Walking the path of love is peaceful and joyful rather than angry. And rate yourself. Where are you now? And where would you like to be? The movement or walking the path of love is an understanding that chaos to sanity is a forward movement. Most of us who come into the BALM don't come in because we just got an idea. Gee, that sounds like fun. I want to sit in classes and study recovery because it sounds like fun. Often there's chaos in our families. Things aren't going the way we'd hoped they would go. When we walk the path of love, we know that chaos to sanity is a movement forward toward clarity and peace. Not confused and chaotic, toward interdependence, not codependence, toward being focused on today while willing to risk all for a better tomorrow, not lashing out in a disorganized, obsessive fashion. When you're focused on love in the BALM way, you're thoughtful and introspective, not labeling and not judgmental. You're oriented toward love, not toward embarrassment or worry about stigma. You ask, which way does love point? Not what does my ego want next? And I need you to know that if you're more on the right side of this, where you're still filled with embarrassment and worry and stigma, we're not judging you, because guess what? We've all been there. And sometimes we go back there and we come back to love. It's moving from inward to outward decision making, not reactive to each incident or action of the other. A person who's walking the loving path clearly sees the life and death nature of this disorder and drops judgment about the source of the behavior, understanding that the loved one's brain is hijacked. It's not that they hate you or want you to suffer or want to ruin their life or your life. They're hijacked. Person on the loving path understands they're dealing with the loved one's hijacked brain. A person on the loving path understands that the loved one's brain tells them they can't survive without their substance or behavior. And so a person on the loving path does not add fuel to the fire of their misunderstanding of their situation with rejection, unkindness, judgment, or anger. Where are you on that one? Where would you like to be now and in the future? A person on the loving path is a love bomber, BOMBER, providing unconditional love, but not enabling. And in the BALM, we define enabling as anything that you do that helps your loved one access their substance of choice, their drug of choice, their behavior of choice. And we're not talking about MAT. We're talking about unhealthy, unsupervised, chaotic use. Walking the loving path is about breaking through your loved one's denial. You do this with the 7 steps to BALM, which have been described by interventionists as mini brief interventions based on love, filled with facts, and ending in love, including a boundary if necessary. Not through demeaning rhetoric or action. Those things don't break through denial, they send it underground. Breaking through the loved one's denial sometimes takes a major intervention. Whoa, there we go. Don't want to lose the page. And when that happens, the person on the path of love will make sure that happens, will get help to do what needs to be done. Walking the loving path means raising the bottom of the family through reading, education, coaching, loving conversation, treatment, whatever it takes. Not through judgment or labeling or demeaning of one's family or other families. Raising the bottom of your family means learning new ways to love and help that allow yourself and your family to contribute to recovery, and letting go of the old ways that contribute to the use disorder. Raising the bottom of your family is providing the support you need, getting the support from a coach, from the BALM, to face every day with a new attitude toward spirit, self, and loved one. It's not relying on your old ways of freaking out, winging it, and forcing outcomes with very little useful information or skill. And then, of course, there's raising the bottom of your loved one. understanding that knowing in today's world that allowing a loved one to hit a bottom could mean that they die. And so we never say, they have to hit a bottom before they get help. They have to really want it. Nobody ever woke up and said, it's a glorious day, I think I'll go to treatment. There's usually someone or something from the outside encouraging, guiding, motivating that person to get the help that they need. And when we're walking the loving path, we can be that person. We can help our loved one get that help, and we're all about it. Walking the loving path. At all ages, in all environments, it's possible to be in family recovery. So who knows where a person is on their path? You know, James Prochaska, his dad was a person with an alcohol use disorder, and his dad didn't make it. And he couldn't figure out, he tried everything, and he just couldn't get it. And James Prochaska woke up, went to college, and decided to research what would help alcoholics get and stay sober. How could people break habits that were hurting them? And he was, I think he may have been at Temple originally, Temple University, I'm not sure, maybe Rhode Island. And he and his team studied cigarette smokers because they were the most prevalent people with habits that needed to be broken. And he went around and they asked people he took all the modalities of psychology and took them to people who were smoking and who quit smoking and said, which of these helped you last time you quit? Which of these helped you get better, cut down? And what he found was it wasn't the particular modality every time. It was different modalities worked at different times in a person's movement from being involved with a substance or behavior to letting that substance or behavior go. And he came up with his team, including DiClemente, with the stages of change model. Starting with pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation is denial. I don't have a problem. What are you talking about? This is not me. This is you. You're the one with the problem. And then there's contemplation. Maybe you have an accident in the car, or maybe you lose your job. Well, maybe I do have a problem. Maybe it was the drinking. Maybe it was the drugs. I don't know. Maybe she left me because I was using, but I don't think so. Contemplation is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then there's planning or preparation. So pre-contemplation can go on a lifetime unless there's some intervention. So some people stay in denial their whole lives. The family can be the key, and that's what we're going to look at in the next slide. But I want you to understand these stages just a little bit tonight. We study them in depth in the BALM, and my book covers them. There's a whole section on it. Let's see if I can show that to you on the stages of change. And what I did was I met with the Prochaskas, and you can see all of the whole model of the family stages are covered in the book, in the chapter, in the chart. But the point is, these are the basic steps. Then we're going to apply them to you and to me, to the family. So there's pre-contemplation. There is no problem. I'm not a drinker. I don't know what you're talking about. To contemplation, maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. Sometimes I think so. Contemplation can go on for a couple of years or forever, or it can be shortened by people around the loved one. We call the person with the use disorder the loved one in the BALM. By people around the loved one utilizing certain methodologies at certain times. a loved one can move from pre-contemplation to contemplation, and from contemplation into planning. Planning usually lasts about 6 weeks, and that's when the person says, I'm going to do this thing, and then they start to prepare to do it. So there's, it's not my problem, pre-contemplation. I think I might have a problem. No, I don't. Yes, I do. Going into planning, and then into action, where they stop using, they start going to meetings, whatever it is. Now, people can be in treatment and still be in pre-contemplation. And in those cases, the treatment center's job is to work to move the person forward in their stages. And many treatment centers utilize this model as they're working with loved ones. So once a person is in action, that's about 6 months to a year, and then they move into maintenance. And once they're in maintenance, well, with a person with a use disorder, like substance use disorder or alcohol use disorder, maintenance can last a lifetime. With cigarettes, they might go all the way to, rather than recycling, to termination, where it's done. They're finished with it. As far as we know right now, maintenance is a lifetime thing for people with an alcohol drug use disorder, although it's a continuum. It depends on how severe the person's challenges are. So this is the person with the use disorder. And you see that there's recycling, and most people will go through these stages 3, 4, 5 times before they stick. And the more solidly you go through these stages, the pre-contemplation, contemplation, planning, to action, the more solidly your pre-stages are, the more deeply you work them through, the better your chances of sticking and getting to maintenance and staying there. Okay, so now let's look at the family. It says up here 6 stages of change for families, because families are our focus, but I wanted you to have the understanding. By the way, Prochaska says most of us are trying to break 3 or 4 habits at any given time. So when I looked at this, I saw I was trying to break the habit of co-addiction, being on top of my husband, trying to make him change. I was trying to stop biting my nails. I was working on food. I was on different habits. And it's not a straight path. A person can go pre-contemplation, contemplation, planning, back to contemplation, forward to action. It moves around. It's fluid. So these are just important things for you to know. And again, don't worry if you're not following it. Once you're in the BALM, we have a whole dedicated to it. Lots of experts talking about the stages of change, and we do study them. So then we move. Let's see if I can get back to moving this slide forward. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. There we go. So here are the 6 stages of change for family members. What I did was I took their stages of change and I looked at what I saw in families. And I wrote a set of stages. It's same exact stages, but I looked at what it like in a family to be in each of these stages. So on the slides, here's a very short, pre-contemplation. The family member may be denying any responsibility. It's not my problem. It's her problem. She's a bad seed. He's ungrateful. She just needs to grow up. Statements in relation to the family. This is a good family. These things don't happen to us. What are you, nuts? If you hear a person talking like that, if you hear yourself talking like that, chances are you're in pre-contemplation. Then there's contemplation. We talked about it. For a family member, it's ambivalence. Maybe I am doing something wrong here. Maybe I am enabling. Maybe it's not my daughter's fault that she's got these problems. Maybe she does have a hijacked brain. Maybe we do have a few things we could learn. Contemplation, ambivalence. Maybe, but maybe not. Not sure yet. And then preparation and planning. The person is looking over the BALM weekly schedule. They're looking up Al-Anon meetings. They're looking for a smart recovery in their town. They're considering getting a coach. And they're planning ahead for getting into action. And statements in relation to the loved one. Next time she asks me for money, I'll ask her counselor if she should get it. Wow, that's huge. Statements in relation to self and family. We have a lot to learn. It's time to start going to our BALM classes. I will start next week. Person in preparation or planning isn't doing everything right now. They're putting their schedule together and making their plans. And then, of course, there's action, working a recovery program, attending the daily BALM, signing up for a 7 steps class, getting into those classes, and the person may say in relation to their loved one, I care, and I'll work with the treatment center to advocate for my daughter's recovery. And they may say, we're done enabling in our family. That's action. Then there's maintenance. Maintenance is called sticking with it. That's when the person is attending support groups, working with their BALM coach. In relation to their loved one, they may say, sweetheart, I love you. I believe my eyes and my ears, not your words. Unfortunately, your words are not matching your actions, and I love you. And in relation to themselves, a family in maintenance is saying things like, we're really balming now. We're balmers. In fact, a BALM family made that up, that term, balming. Sometimes families recycle or relapse just like the loved one. So there's no reason to feel holier than thou. Oh, I can't believe he relapsed again. Oh, we spent all this money on treatment and she's on the floor again. Look, in Al-Anon, they have a joke. The reason that they don't give, in AA, they give out a white chip the first time you come. The reason they don't give a white chip to families in Al-Anon is because they run out of money. They'd have to give one to them every day, 5 times a day. We do recycle a lot as family members. The BALM was created to minimize the recycling and increase our being focused on solution. It's very solution focused. You're going to learn very specific things, get a lot of support to keep you on the path. At the same time, we invite you to not judge your loved one and not judge yourself when you're not perfect at it. None of us are, I've got to tell you. And so sometimes we recycle and relapse. We no longer go to our meetings or groups. We say things like, that's her problem, not mine, all over again, as if we never learned a thing. And we have to do what she says. She tells us she's an adult. She's an adult. That's relapse for a family. And then, of course, there's termination, being complete, where you really get this. You imbibe the BALM. It's in your gut. And at that point, you've integrated it as a way of life, and you're not moving backwards anymore. And this is an example. Everybody inside the BALM program has access to the entire chart of the stages of change for family members. It's also in my book, as I said, but BALM family members get this. A lot of people will download it and they'll help themselves realize, whoops, where exactly they are. Let's see if I can fix this screen so that I can come on screen so that I can, yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is the process. This is the journey we're on. We're on a journey that doesn't have any great guarantees, except that if you work it, you will get better. Will you get better instantly? No. Will your loved one, when they go to treatment, will everything be perfect? No. But you will get better. You will start to think differently. And in the BALM, we believe that this happens through something called an attitudinal shift. And the attitudinal shift is found in the BALM principles 1 through 4. In Principle 1, you learn the family has a crucial role to play in family recovery. In Principle 2, you learn change happens in stages. Your loved one can change and you can change. In Principle 3, you learn to let go without giving up or giving in. Does this mean let go and let God? It's their problem. It's their recovery. I believe in God, but I have a role to play. And so I have to let go of my obsessive want and need for everything to go my way. You can tell by the way I do this that I've had those feelings. So if you have them or have them, doesn't mean you're not a good person. You just need to do some work. Okay, so we say let go without giving up on your loved one and without giving in to their manipulation. That is the pivotal lesson in the whole program. These first 4 lessons will help you shift your attitude dramatically. And the 4, you can be your loved one's best chance at recovery. How do you do it? You do it by not enabling, by setting boundaries to protect yourself, by using leverage. Oh my gosh, there's so much to it. And the entire BALM 12 principles are teaching you all of this. Once you've gone through these first 4 principles, you're ready for the next stage of your recovery. Now, before if you've been coming to these little workshops, you know about the BALM 7 C's. And the BALM 7 C's, you didn't cause it, you can't control it, you can't cure it. You can contribute to recovery. You're connected to your loved one on a level deeper than their use disorder. You can learn to communicate, and you're always at choice. I feel like I missed one. Like I just did 6, but there are 7. So it's you didn't cause it, can't control it, can't cure it. You can contribute to recovery. You are connected on a level deeper. You can learn to communicate. You are always a choice. That's the 7 C's. I've memorized them. Many of us have, because they put us in the right frame of mind. Then we learn these things, that we have a role to play. Our loved one can change, and so can we. It's time to let go of control, but learn new ways to help that really do work. No guarantee, but you're going to be their best chance if you're doing what we teach you how to do. And then, of course, you move into your 7 steps class. And we believe and see that the 7 steps to be a loving mirror light the way to inner transformation for family and loved ones. The first 3 steps are all about inner transformation. Step 1, be the peace you wish to see in the world. This is where you learn mindfulness. This is where you learn how to be quiet on the inside so that everything on the outside isn't making you crazy. Quiet on the inside. We teach you some mindfulness techniques. Some of them are straight out of Al-Anon. Some of them are from different traditions. Your faith tradition may have wonderful tools for you, and we highly recommend you look for those tools that work. Be the peace you wish to see in the world tells us that the first step to transformation in a family is becoming peaceful on the inside. This is an inside-out journey. Once you become peaceful on the inside, you will naturally become an objective observer of what's happening around you. So what we say is step 2, objectively observe the world around you. So what does that mean? Used to be, before the 7 steps, your loved one walked in, they were drunk or high, they're swaying, and your heart starts racing, and you're screaming, you're yelling, you're fainting, you're begging, whatever it is your game is. Once you're practicing the BALM, you become mindful, peaceful, calm, inside out. You objectively observe what's going on. You may jot down the facts. You watch the facts. He's walking in. He seems to be swaying from left to right. Oh, he fell over. I wonder if he's okay. Better check his pulse. Yeah, he's okay. Okay, I'm going to bed. Now, sounds simple. Here's the facts. In the beginning, when you do this, you'll see something that's upsetting, not dangerous in the moment, but upsetting. And it doesn't have to be dangerous in the moment, as those of you who have family members who are involved in dangerous behaviors know. It can just be upsetting, and we can go to town on that, taking it all the way to its natural end, which is death and destruction. Maybe I'm the only one who does that. But what happens is you're on step 2 and you are objectively observing. And then we go to step 3. Become aware of your inner emotional landscape without judgment. So be aware. My heart is racing. I can't breathe. I'm so upset. This is really giving me a pounding headache. Become aware of how what's happening around you is impacting me. Now, when impacting you, when we teach you these steps, we don't just, it's not an intellectual exercise. You've had a lot of intellectual learning. Emotional learning sticks. Intellectual learning doesn't. If it's just in a book or on a tape, it's useless, really. So we give you lots of mindfulness activities and exercises to practice. And those who practice them on a regular basis have a much better chance of succeeding. And then when it comes to step 2, we give you a lot of wonderful ways to become an objective observer. You learn how to distinguish between fact and fiction, between what's your responsibility and what isn't. And because you're objective, that is easier to do. And when it comes to emotional awareness, you learn about flooding, you learn about the resentment prayer, you learn about things in the 12 steps, in evidence-based practice. You learn all kinds of things, you practice them, and you choose the things that will help you become emotionally aware in a healthier way. The first 3 steps, 3 weeks, or if you're doing it on the retreat coming up October 11th to 14th, then we will do that on Saturday. All day Saturday, steps 1 through 3. And then we get to 4 through 7, the outer transformation. This is where we teach you how to document what you see and hear. You're looking for patterns. It's not, one time doesn't mean we have a problem here. But the problem is we see it one time, we go to our loved one, they tell us we're nuts and we believe them. We push it down. And then when we see it the second time, we can't remember when we heard it or saw it. We think that we're seeing things. We take it on that we're crazy, not them, which is what they're telling us. So documenting helps you to be aware. It happened, it's going on. And when it happens again or something else that concerns you, once you have 2 or 3 incidents, you have a pattern. And once you have a pattern, you do step 5. You script a loving conversation with your loved one. Tone is so important. So many family members, because of the trauma they've experienced and the upset, come in sarcastic, angry, ticked off, and they really don't have any time or interest in this, but they'll have a conversation. Maybe that's you, maybe it isn't. I don't mean to be offensive if it is you, because who wouldn't feel that way? But we're going to teach you a different way. The loving path teaches you how to have conversations with people about very difficult things. It starts with your loved ones using, and it goes into every area of your life. And before you know it, you're able to have very difficult conversations with a whole lot of different people with much less stress, because you learn how to share the facts that you see and hear without judgment, only in love. And you script the conversation, and we will give you a script frame where you start with love, you share the facts, your concerns, and you end with love. And you'll have that conversation at a time and place that work for you and your loved one. And it's all with respect and dignity. Remember, Their brain is hijacked. They're not bad. They're not trying to ruin your life. What a relief that is. They're still the kid you loved so long ago, the spouse you married before things went bad and those social drinks became a nightmare. And finally, if necessary, set a boundary. An interventionist once told me that BALM conversations are like a drip, drip, drip. We teach you how to have these conversations in a very conversational way that is not out of the ordinary. And in the beginning, you're scripting, and eventually it's just, sweetheart, I notice your eyes are red. Pass the butter, please. It's just very concerning, factual, but it's because it's not, your eyes are red. Oh my God. I love doing that drama stuff. Anyway, because it's not like this and it's just in conversation, the message goes from your heart to your loved one's heart under the radar of their denial. Just talking like you say, what's the weather? And by the way, your eyes are red. It's an art to have an effective BALM conversation. It really is. It's an amazing thing. Sometimes it's not enough, and it's time to set a boundary. Now, in BALM world, a boundary isn't something that you set to control your loved one, and you're going to learn a lot about boundary setting. We say do not set a boundary until you're determined to stick with it. You set boundaries for your own protection, for your own good health, for your own enjoyment of life. And they're not always necessary, because sometimes a BALM conversation is all that's needed. But for those times when the boundary is necessary, we teach you how to have the conversation with a boundary. The 7 steps are the core of our program. The 12 principles, starting with those 4 attitudinal shift principles, are really the information. And you can find, once you get your book, you'll find in the appendix, I think it's appendix 1, perhaps. I'm looking in my book right now. Yes, appendix 1, you'll see a summary of all 12 principles. So if you have your book in front of you, that would be on page 272. There's 3 on a page. You'll have an overview of what those 12 principles are. Information that stays in the book. Information in a book stays in a book. I love that saying. Information that's in a book stays in the book. It's only when we put it into action that it transforms us. And that's what the 7 steps do with the information you get in the 12 principles. So we say that be a loving mirror, the process of the 7 steps of becoming that loving mirror, that's the journey and the destination. Why do we say that? Because you're learning to be a loving mirror all along the way before there's any big result from your loved one. And why is that critical? Let's say a loved one gets recovery within a month. Super. You've been happy during that month, taking care of yourself, enjoy your time together. Let's say they get recovery in 10 years, and both of those are possible. And if you are angry and filled with pain and anxiety and until they get it together, when they do, they're going to be joyful, and you're going to be a dish rag on the floor, and really, you may not even want to have anything to do with them. The Be a Loving Mirror method gives you a process to be the love and the joy and the peace in all areas of your life, in this moment and in this moment, and to enjoy your family and your loved ones, however they are. You know, one of our wonderful coaches came into the BALM, 20 years of people saying, don't have anything to do with your son. He's no good. He doesn't want to get recovery. And she came into the BALM and realized she'd given up 20 years with her son. They made amends. He came home. And unfortunately, his dad got ill. He was able to help his mom sober with his dad. And they had a wonderful year or two together with his being sober. It was a sad time, but it was also a good time. And eventually he lost that recovery, and he did pass. His mom's story is in the book. You can find it in Recovery from the Trenches on pages. See if I can find Peace in the Midst of Grieving. You know, many of our families see lasting recovery. Not everybody does. But what this mom said is, if it hadn't been for the BALM, she wouldn't have gotten her son back. She wouldn't have had peace. She would have been in such worse shape. The BALM is a gift that allows a family member to be at peace and systematically do everything possible to help their loved one and let go of the result all at once. And in the long run, that peace may not give you exactly what you want, but the peace will fill your heart and your life, and hopefully that of everyone in your family. That's what we wish for you. Peace, love, and recovery for everyone in your family. We invite you to join us and to learn how to be a loving mirror. We invite you to consider this series of webinars an invitation to change your family tree. Come to the sessions, read the book, and participate in the online family recovery program. You can see that these slides were made for one of our specific treatment centers that has BALM for all of their families, as more and more treatment centers do. But whether you're in a treatment center with the BALM, or you are a person in another treatment center, or you're a person who hasn't joined the BALM yet, but you know that you want to bring recovery to your family, we are here for you. If a coach sent you here, go back to that coach to enroll. If you found us through the web, if you're already enrolled and you're having any challenges, because it's an online program, call us and we'll help you with your technical challenges. You can see in this picture, this is the picture of our coaches who graduated 2 years ago. They're an amazing group of people. And all in all, the BALMers are amazing. The coaches are amazing. And we invite you to be part of our community. At the very least, we hope you'll use what you're learning in the book and in these informational webinars to change your family tree. We'll have another one of these seminars in 2 weeks. Watch your email. And at this point, we'll turn off the recording, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.